Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There are moments in life where the way you've been seen no longer matches who you've become, and heaven has been watching this unfold in you for longer than you realize. When angels look at you, they don't see a survivor. They don't see someone barely holding it together. They see a legend. And legends aren't created in easy places. They are forged where most people would have walked away. Think about it. Some people stop at the first wall. Others retreat when doors close. But you kept moving. You learned how to carve doors into walls. You found another way through. And in heaven's record, every time you kept moving when the weight said stop, it was noted. That's why heaven responds to you the way it does. You may not see it, but your story reads differently there. When they consider you, they see not just what you've endured, but how you endured. They see the choices you made when no one else was applauding. They see how you refused to betray your own soul, even when it would have been easier to compromise. And here's what I want you to feel right now. Your life has already shifted into territory that carries weight beyond you. You notice it in your own body, in the way your energy feels steadier, in how your words linger longer when you speak, in how opportunities begin to circle closer without you forcing them. Legends don't need to announce themselves. The evidence of their journey speaks before they open their mouths. You've entered that stage. Picture a marathon runner crossing the finish line, lungs burning, legs barely holding, but they cross. Nobody needs to be told they've done something extraordinary. The crowd can feel it. That's what your spirit has done. You crossed lines you didn't even know you had the strength to reach, and heaven stood still to mark it. That's why the word legend fits. Because this isn't about popularity, this isn't about numbers or crowds. This is about significance. A legend is someone whose life leaves a mark that cannot be erased. That's what you've become. Even if no one says it out loud, your shift is obvious. Some catch a spark from it. Others lose their balance because of it. But no one walks away untouched. And don't mistake this for arrogance. Legends aren't arrogant. They're consistent. They are the ones who keep showing up long after others gave up. That's why, in heaven's sight, the response to your life is awe. Because they see a story that didn't break under pressure. They see someone who refused to fold, even when no one was there to watch. Your very existence is a reminder that ordinary beginnings can lead to extraordinary legacies. And angels understand something most people don't. The smallest faithful choice travels farther than you think. That's why your quiet yes mattered. That's why your whispered prayers carried weight. That's why your steady endurance has rewritten the atmosphere around you. When you hear the word legend, you may think of statues or history books. But in heaven's language, a legend is a soul that lived true, against odds, against pressure, against fear, and still became who they were created to be. That's you. And if you've wondered why your life felt heavier than most, this is the reason. Legends don't carry light loads. Their weight is greater because their impact will stretch further. So today, I want you to stop measuring yourself by the wrong scale. Stop asking why your road looked harder. Stop asking why your path took longer. Legends aren't measured by speed or ease. They are measured by endurance, and you've already proven yours. When heaven looks at your life, they don't see random struggle or wasted years. They see strategy. They see the work you finished when no one was keeping score. They see a timeline heaven itself has been arranging, and your life is the evidence. That's why the weight on your shoulders has felt different. It wasn't just hardship, it was heritage. You've been carrying the seeds of something larger than your own lifetime, and every time you chose to keep walking, those seeds sank deeper into the soil, preparing for the day they would break through. And here's what makes you legendary. It wasn't your loudest victories that marked you. It was the quiet ones. The night you decided to get up again instead of staying down. The conversation you didn't have because you knew silence would protect your peace. The risk you took when fear begged you to stay still. Legends are made in moments like that. Think about music. A single note on its own doesn't seem like much, but when placed in sequence, it creates melody, and melody lingers. Your life has been stringing together notes that seemed ordinary in the moment, but heaven hears the song, and to them, it sounds like history in the making. You may notice it when you're still. The atmosphere doesn't feel the same as it once did, and even if you haven't noticed, it doesn't mean it isn't happening. Others see it. They look at you and find a story worth remembering. That alone is enough to mark you as a legend. But don't misunderstand. Legends are not flawless. They're not superhuman. What makes them different is that they refuse to betray the truth of who they were created to be, and that's what heaven honors in you. Picture molten glass in the hands of an artist. At first, it's formless, almost fragile. Every rotation, every breath, every fire reshapes it. To most, it looks unstable, but in the hands of the master, it's becoming something strong and luminous. That's been your life. What felt like unbearable heat was shaping clarity and brilliance. And now, heaven sees what fire could not destroy, only refine into radiance. And here's the irony. You might still see cracks. You might still focus on what's missing, but heaven sees completion. Angels don't measure your life by its perfection. They measure it by its obedience. And obedience, even when it wavered, was still obedience. Think of it like a torch. You didn't just hold it for yourself. You carried light that will be passed on. Others will see further because you lit the path. Others will walk straighter because you showed them it was possible. Legends don't exist for their own name. They exist so history itself bends differently after them. And your story has already started bending the timeline around you. That's why you felt misunderstood at times. Legends rarely fit neatly into the culture around them. You may have been called too much or too different, but that difference was your proof. While others blended in, you stood apart, not because you wanted to, but because you couldn't do anything else. Heaven was setting you apart so the weight you carried would remain intact. And remember this, like everything in life, being a legend has two sides. Every act of faith and kindness draws a smile from heaven. But history shows us something else too. Legends often walk long stretches of the road alone, until the right time comes and the right people recognize them and draw near. That moment isn't far off in the distance anymore. It's here. What's needed now is your active embodiment of what heaven already sees in you. My dear friend, this is the part where you need to believe it. Your life is not ordinary. You are not here by accident. You're not just another name in the crowd. You are one of the lives heaven pauses to watch because your endurance, your courage, your faith, it inspires them. Do you realize what that means? The very beings created to worship, to carry messages from heaven, are in awe of your story. That's the measure of what you've built. And now, something shifts. The season where this was hidden is over. What was private is becoming public. What was buried is sprouting. When you walk into rooms now, don't be surprised if the atmosphere feels like it tilts. Don't be surprised if people look at you differently. Don't be surprised if opportunities you didn't apply for find their way to your hands. That's not luck. That's the recognition of heaven surfacing in the earth. But hear this. With that weight comes responsibility. Not the kind that burdens, but the kind that honors. Legends don't waste their influence on petty battles. They don't lower themselves to every argument. They don't dilute themselves to make others comfortable. They know their story carries too much weight to be squandered. So guard your energy, protect your focus, honor what you carry. Because you're stepping into a time where your very choices will echo louder than before. And when heaven looks at you, they won't just see a legend, they'll see a legend still becoming, still expanding, still refusing to quit. Let me leave you with this. History isn't written only in books. It's written in the lives of those who dared to live true. And that's why your name already echoes in heaven. They don't just see what you've survived. They see what you've become. A legend in motion. A soul that kept walking. A life that proved love is stronger than fear. And my friend, if heaven already sees you this way, the earth will have no choice but to catch up. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.